Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. It is that time for Fantasy Football Harsh Reality. I am your host, Greg Romero Wilson. We got a little light thing happening today. That'll be fine. No big deal. For those of you listening to the actual audio podcast, you'll hear me addressing to some of the people that are watching on Facebook Live, because I broadcast this on Facebook Live. If you want, you can join me on Facebook Live. All you have to do is become a friend, because apparently it isn't something I can do for my fan page. I do it for my friend page. Hello, Scott Berman. Hello, Maxwell Soloway. Hello, Brian Bentley. You guys joining me live on Facebook Live. Good evening to you guys over there on the East Coast. We're here on the West Coast. Time to break it down. Tomorrow's the day. Tomorrow, the big day, guys. Fantasy football, NFL Sunday. Personally, well, I do love my Cowboys, and they have a very difficult matchup coming up tomorrow versus the Seattle Seahawks, although it really isn't as bad as it once was. You know, I'll tell you a little story. I'll remember when the Seahawks were rolling, and remember when absolutely nobody could beat the Seahawks, especially at home with the 12th man. This is like 2-3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago, when they were like on fire, right? Do you remember this? Jason, how are you, brother? Thank you for joining the show. So what happened was I was shooting an episode of Hawaii Five-0. And I'm in Honolulu at the Ritz-Carlton in Honolulu, when all of a sudden, when the day that the Cowboys beat the Seahawks in Seattle, like the first team to do it in like 3 years at that point. I think it was 2015 maybe. And I go downstairs to pick up the newspaper the next day, and on the front page of the Honolulu newspaper was not national news, wasn't Honolulu news, it wasn't anything particularly about anything relative to politics or anything like that. Right there on the front page, big headline, Cowboys defeat the Seahawks in Seattle. That was the big headline. You would have thought they won the Super Bowl. It was just like a regular season game. Nobody had done it forever. Nobody thought it could be done. And that's just, and it was incredible. Like everyone was treating it as if it had been like a miracle had happened. Miracle of miracles. Can you believe it? So that's what happened. So, now the Cowboys are heading back up there, but it's a little less daunting. Hello, Shelley Hargrove. Thank you for joining us on the show. The Legion of Boom is in fact no more. And Brian Maxwell, now one of the few guys left from it, is they don't even know if he's going to play. He's like refusing to play tomorrow, which is very odd. And so, yes, I think the Cowboys have a great chance tomorrow going in there for a team that's in total disarray. No running game, no passing game. Doug Baldwin's out of the game. They don't know who they're throwing the ball to. So, I mean, it's completely up to the Cowboys. If the defense does their job tomorrow, the Cowboys absolutely have a chance. And in fact, I think in terms of daily value fantasy, if you need a value defense, I think you're looking at the Cowboys up there in Seattle. But let's go through the games. Let's start by talking about what happened last night with the Jets versus the Browns. Now, I wanted to play Isaiah Crowell. I wanted to play him so bad. But versus Cleveland, it's a Thursday night game. Sabrina Taylor-Mesh, how are you, darling? Good to see you. There are all these things that I didn't like about the matchup. And again, I know it was a revenge game. But I've played the revenge game card before to no avail. And so, thank you, Sabrina. And so, in this case, I felt the same way. And to a certain extent, yes, Isaiah Crowell ended up getting 2 touchdowns. One of them, he used the ball to wipe his ass, which was very classy. Good work, Crow. You're definitely not going to get a FedEx from the league for that one. Brett Riley, how are you, man? Good to see you. Talking about football. But you know how high I have been on this Cleveland defense. You know how much I think this Cleveland defense is fantastic. And apparently I've trumpeted it so much that the guy I'm playing in my league of record, Dave Kerr, the Hogs, a Washington Redskins fan, played the Cleveland defense this week against me as a streamer. And guess what? They gave him 18 fucking points. Fuck you, Dave Kerr, you fucking cocksucker. You're not going to get me. I'm not with that business, but I didn't play the Crow, who also, yes, I know about the stream of light. It's from the window right there. There's nothing I can do about it. It's going to be there the entire time. Look, it's right up my face. Look, it's some there, some there. It's the way it's going to go. So consequently, this was just something that I didn't, out of safety, play the Crow, and I regret it. It was a gut play. I wanted to play him, but it didn't happen. It just did not happen, and instead he put up 18 points, and I blew it. I should have played him. But I'll tell you what I'm doing in that game. In that game, I'm playing once again. I did it last week, and maybe I shouldn't have done it this week. Maybe I was going for too much, but I'm playing both Gordon and Eckler again, even though they're up against an incredible Rams defense. The problem, the hedge play for me is the idea that only one of them is going to go off, and it might be either one, and the only way to have the points in that game is to play them both. So it's a total hedge play. That's what I'm doing. So I didn't play the Crow, and Thursday night, I totally regretted it. So that's what happened there. Baker Mayfield, everyone's all excited about Baker Mayfield, but I would temper my expectations, because if you remember the way that Sam Darnold came out, say, hey, Jay Mesh, what's up? And so you remember the way that Sam Darnold came out of the gate real hot against Detroit, and then what happened? Now, I think Baker Mayfield is much better than Sam Darnold, but it remains to be seen if he's going to show any consistency. You know, it's like they say, everyone's got to play it until they get hit in the mouth. Let's see what happens when they run into a real defense that punches that kid in the mouth, forces him to run, and maybe knocks him around a little bit. We'll see what happens. We'll see. Meshy juice is expected to be sprayed. John Mesh is tuning in right now. He likes to spray his juice all over his opponents. Who you up against this week, John Mesh? Who you up? John Johnson, welcome to the show. Thank you for tuning in. Okay, Saints versus Falcons. Now, I know on paper this looks like it's going to be a high-scoring game, right? That's what it looks like. But there's something about it. Oh, the commish? Ooh, I don't know. We'll see. That's a pretty good matchup, actually. There's something about this game, and talk about gut feelings. I got a lot of gut feelings about this week, and I feel like this is a game, while on paper looks like it should be a monster on paper. Looks like it should be a high-scoring game, 38-35, something like that. But there's something about it that for some reason I feel like both these defenses are going to play a lot harder this Sunday because they know the offenses are supposed to be accelerated. And I don't know. I have this weird feeling instead of being 38-35, it's going to wind up being 27-24. Like, I just feel like it might be a stronger defensive game than it looks like on paper. Now, that being said, I think you play everybody in this game because of the fact that these are two high-scoring offenses, including Matt Ryan. But again, Matt Ryan had to do everything physically possible to get into the end zone last week. Is he going to be able to do that every single week? I think not. And Scott Berman, unfortunately, I do not think the Chargers upset the Rams tomorrow, but I do think it's going to be a very good game. We'll get to that one at the end. So, my sleeper pick in this game, by the way, in this Saints-Falcons game, is Calvin Ridley. He's only projected at 6 points. I bet he doubles it at 12. I like Calvin Ridley as a sleeper pick in this. My gut, though, says it's not going to be as high scoring as people think. But in the end, I think that the Saints do win it 27-23. As I said, I think it becomes a more defensive battle than people think it's going to be. And remember, if you're only watching this show for a few minutes, that's great. Watch the show for a few minutes. If you want to hear the whole podcast, it's uploaded on SoundCloud. Just look up Fantasy Football Harsh Reality, and you will find this on SoundCloud. And hopefully soon on iTunes. Okay. Packers at Redskins. Adrian Peterson. What are you doing? Adrian Peterson needs to stop running side to side. In Bengals, Carolina, I like the Bengals. We're going to get to that game in, I think that's up in 3 games, 3, 4, coming up in a few games. It's like 5 games away from me in my analysis. But I do like the Bengals over Carolina in general because I think they have a better defense. But let's just, really quickly, Adrian Peterson, quit running side to side. I know that tippy-tap move. I don't know if you picked that up or if that used to work for you because you used to have greater burst and greater acceleration, but you're an old man now and you need to just cut and run, man. Pick your lane and fucking get down it. You're not Le'Veon Bell. You don't have that fucking 24-year-old acceleration. You need to cut and run. One cut and fucking hit it. Okay, this tippy-tap shit, running side to side. Quit running side to side, Adrian Peterson. You're making me crazy. All right. So, now, in this game, because of the fact that Josh Norman is probably going to be on Devontae Adams, the guy I like Geronimo. This is the one we were talking about, Geronimo Allison. We were talking about Geronimo Allison last week, and so now And so now I think this is the game where Geronimo Allison, him or Cobb, one of those two, it's a coin toss. One of those two I think is going to be the star of this game. And I got to say, I like Geronimo Allison. I also like Jimmy Graham. I'm going to go out here right now, and I think Jimmy Graham gets 2 TDs tomorrow against this Redskins defense. I know it's a better defensive team than offensive team, but we're talking about the Packers. I like Jimmy Graham in this one a lot, and I think the Packers ultimately win at 27-19. That's what I think happens there. Also, I do like Jordan Reed because he's still out there, and Chris Thompson. Those are the only guys that I like for the Redskins. I don't like anybody else for the Redskins. Well, Aaron Jones is slotted to play in the 3rd spot. They're still planning to play. They're playing right now. Aaron Jones is slotted to play behind Ty Montgomery and Jamal Williams. So it remains to be seen how much Aaron Jones really gets to play. I mean, that's what they've said publicly. So there's no way to say whether or not, what now. I think Aaron Jones is the running back to own, and I think next week you fire him up. But I think this week, Aaron Jones stays on your bench. All right. Let's move on to Colts versus Eagles. This is what I think will be the second biggest blowout of this week. I think there's going to be a couple of blowouts, but I think this one is by far going to be number one, primarily because Carson Wentz is back. This is what the Eagles have been waiting for. This is going to ignite the whole team. We saw what a little inspiration could do for a team on Thursday night when Baker Mayfield came into the game, and all of a sudden the Browns looked like a real team. The team that I was saying they could be all year, all of a sudden they turned into that team. Although ultimately, I still think Tyrod Taylor is the better quarterback. But, I mean, listen, if the mojo is with Baker Mayfield, you play Baker Mayfield. But I think he floats back down to earth next week. But listen, the big play Eagles defense. You've been playing them anyway. They've been doing good for you. But this week, they are going to help you win that game. This Eagles defense is going to get you damn near 30 points this week because the Colts just so far aren't that productive. Now, here's the interesting caveat here, okay? Andrew Luck is always has Marco. What's up? My buddy Marco Pisani is tuning in. Andrew Luck has the potential to be one of the greats, right? And 3rd time is the charm. We have yet to see really, I think, true Andrew Luck yet. And he may just show up for this game, but I don't think so. I think it'll be the 4th game, game number 4. I don't think it's the 3rd, but I do think that is the X factor in this game, Andrew Luck coming alive. Because I don't think we've seen full Andrew Luck yet. I think he's still finding his feet. And yes, he does need a line, but he's never had one before, and he was still able to wind up in the top 5 quarterbacks in his first 3 seasons. So, given what he's got, he still can't do it. Again, I don't think it's this week, not versus this Philly defense. I hope he survives the game. If there's one game that knocks him back out of the NFL, it's this game right here. The guys to play, and talk about daily fantasy value. The guys to play, especially if you're playing daily fantasy, Corey Clement, because Ajayi is back out of there, although you got to monitor the situation with him there because he's got some quadricep thing, but I think it's just something needed to rest him on. I think he plays. And then, and of course, Aguilar, because now that Wentz is back, him and Aguilar have that chemistry. I think Aguilar and Clement, you fire them both up with confidence. I think you can play Aguilar as your WR2. Latavius Murray is in the same boat, exactly, because Dalvin Cook is out. Another value daily fantasy play. And so you fire those guys up. The only guy I like from the Colts is not Jack Doyle. I'm sorry if you drafted it. I'm sorry if you remembered the hype. But unfortunately, it is Eric Ebron. We've seen it week after week. And right now, Leonard Fournette is scheduled to play, but he's got that hammy problem. I say he plays, but not the whole fucking game. But we're going to get to the Jacksonville game in just a minute. But anyways, Ebron is the only guy on the Colts that I like. I'm sorry if you drafted Jack Doyle. Jack Doyle does not rule. Unfortunately, Jack Doyle rules the bench. But I think Eagles ultimately ball out and destroy these motherfuckers 46-17. Lock it up. All right, let's keep it rolling. Bills at Vikings. Now, if there's one potential blowout bigger than the Eagles versus the Colts, it's right here. Now, again, Hilton, I don't think so. I don't know what kind of week he's going to have versus this Philadelphia defense. He's going to have their top guy on him all weekend, all night long. I don't know. I'm not feeling good about Hilton this week at all. That's just the truth. I think Philly's going to shut him down. Sorry. Bills at Vikings. All right. Latavius, as we say, play Latavius Murray. He's going to have a monster game. Okay, play him in daily fantasy. If you handcuffed him because of Dalvin Cook, load him into your lineup with confidence because of who they're playing. The Bills are facing the deep, and especially if you have the Minnesota defense, you can almost count this as a win for this week because I think, again, much like the Eagles defense, you're going to be seeing 30 points out of these guys, like a monstrous. Yeah, I can't stop staring at my mustache either, Rich Aronovich. I get it. It is intoxicating. And listen, I got a little hashtag. It's called Stash Makes Cash, baby. The stash just keeps working for me. Okay. So, Latavius Murray, listen, Shady McCoy is going to be shut down. They're going to be playing against him exclusively. They're going to be destroying whichever quarterback they try to put back there. It is going to be mass destruction. And you know what I really like? I like Kyle Rudolph as your tight end play again in daily fantasy. I think he's a lot of value. So go ahead and light up Kyle Rudolph, everybody on Minnesota, especially the wide receivers. It's going to be a baller day. Murray better than Bernard or Lamar Miller? Absolutely. Latavius Miller over all those. Now, Murray over Fournette. Now, that is a lineup question right there. And I'm going to leave it to you, my man, but personally, I'm not even joking about this. I would play Latavius Murray over Leonard Fournette this week, primarily because of the matchup on Latavius Murray's side, because they're going to run up the score, and after that, they'll just be running the ball. And then, Jacksonville, they don't have the toughest matchup. They're up against Tennessee, and Tennessee is a good run-stop defense. So, and Fournette coming off that hammy. Again, I don't think you trust him for the whole damn game. I'm afraid until next week, I would go with Latavius Murray over Leonard Fournette. That's just me. I'm saying that. But really, on paper, if Fournette plays, you play him, okay? If that were my team, I would ultimately go with that. But if I'm being honest, I think Latavius Murray has a bigger game this week than Leonard Fournette. Raider, and especially since Murray is pissed. After what he did for that team last year, and that's right, stash equals cash, baby. After what he did for them last year, they're just like, Dalvin, you're back. Go back in, Dalvin. He's going to be running with an attitude. Basically what Matt Breida did last week, I expect Latavius Murray to do this week. Raiders at Dolphins. Oh, by the way, my final score prediction on that one, 56-9. That's what I'm predicting. 56-9. The Vikings absolutely just destroy the Bills. Stash makes cash. Stash makes cash. All right, moving on. Let's look at the Broncos at the Ravens. Now, this is a little bit closer of a matchup. I don't think it's a high-scoring affair. Both these teams need a bet. I mean, I know the Broncos are 2-0, but they didn't look that great last week against what is, not the best Raiders defense in the world. They're like Miami. It's like, who have they beat? Miami's 2-0, but I'm not impressed. They beat the Jets and somebody else. Like, they also do not have impressive wins. So in this game, I like both the defenses. I think the defenses are going to be the real scorers, both the Ravens and the Broncos. On the Ravens side, I like Buck Allen. I think they're going to have to do a lot of swing passes to the outside because of that attacking rush. I think it's swing passes to Buck Allen. On the Broncos side, same thing. Phillip Lindsay has just been dynamic. I really like Phillip Lindsay. So for me, though, it's really about the defenses in that game. And ultimately, I think the Ravens win this one at home, 23-17 in a bounce-back game. Bengals at Panthers. Now, this one does have the potential to be a very high-scoring game. It really does. Once again, I like both the defenses better than the offenses. But they could get moving. These are the kind of offenses that could start chugging, and why this could wind up being a shootout. But it also might not. It isn't as definitive as, say, the Eagles versus the Colts or the Vikings versus the Bills. It's more like could maybe, but who knows. In this, I do like Christian McCaffrey. He finally turned it up last week, started showing what we were talking about. He's the guy that he's the guy that I'm upset I didn't get in either of my drafts. But I expect to have a great game. And I think Cam Newton will have a decent game because I think he's going to have to run in a touchdown or two himself. So I like those guys. I don't like Funches because I think they're going to be all over him. I think that Cincinnati defense is going to be all over him. And I don't like Joe Mixon, although now he's out. He's out anyway. So they're going to be firing up Giovanni Bernard. If you still got that guy hanging around, hopefully you handcuffed him. And Tyler Boyd might be a sleeper pick for the Bengals. I mean, he has been making some big catches, but he would be on the sleeper side of things. But again, Carolina's a pretty good fucking defense. I like AJ Green, and more than Tyler Boyd, I like Tyler Eifert. I think Eifert is going to be able to break out in this one. I think we're going to see some fun stuff out of Eifert. I think ultimately, though, the Bengals win this one, even though they're in Carolina. I like the Bengals 24-17. DJ Moore, again, I don't like the passing game because Cam Newton isn't an accurate passer, and the Cincinnati defense is much better than people get him credit for. We saw them shut down that Ravens passing game last week. I'm not excited about either Funches or DJ Moore. Again, I just like Christian McCaffrey and Cam Newton because I think Cam Newton's going to have to run the ball and score some touchdowns. All right, let's keep it rolling. Oh, I have to back up because I missed a game on my notes. Totally skipped the Raiders and the Dolphins. The Raiders and the Dolphins. The Dolphins are 2-0. Raiders are 0-2. But the Dolphins, again, I think the Raiders are better than their record, and I think the Dolphins are worse than their record. Because the Dolphins have beat the Tennessee and the Jets. So I'm not seeing anything of the Dolphins to impress me just yet. They are going to be in good weather. It's not supposed to rain. So I do like Miami. I like Drake. I love Kenyon Drake. He's another guy I wish I could have gotten. And I like Stills. I think Stills is going to have a big game. On the Raiders side of the ball, I like Cooper. I like Jared Cook. I'm firing him up over Evan Ingram this week. And I like Marshawn Lynch. So that being said, I think the Raiders get their first win. I'm putting it down right now. Write it up. I think the Raiders win 28-27. Close game. But I think the Raiders get their first win down there in Miami. Moving on. Let's keep it rolling. What are we talking about? We're talking about fantasy football harsh reality. Okay, Giants at Texans. This is the game the Texans need. The Giants are coming in. They look like garbage. They have all the tools and none of the coaching. I think, for New York, you got to play your stars. You have to play ODB. You have to play Barkley. But I tell you, the guy that I think might benefit is Evan Ingram. But then again, maybe not. And I'll tell you why. Because this is a great pass rushing defense over there on the Texan side. And whenever you're dependent on a tight end and you have an incredible rushing defense, the tight end rarely gets loose because he's got to stay in and block. So ultimately, I'm not that excited about the Giants' chances in this game. Barkley, ODB, those are the only guys I'd fire up. The Texans, I like everybody, especially that defense. I think that defense absolutely takes off. I like Hopkins. I like Fuller. These guys. And Fuller has got tremendous value in daily fantasy. He's been putting up great numbers. I think he puts up stellar numbers in this game. I think you go out there in daily fantasy and you get Will Fuller. You use him as your WR2. You're going to be happy you did. Okay. I did that for you, Linda. I hope you enjoyed it. All right, let's keep moving. Hey, by the way, Linda, your husband is still mad at me? He never returned my text. Okay. Titans versus Jags. Okay, now here's the thing. This game, I think, will be affected by the rain. Now, that's the big question. Is it going to rain or is it not going to rain? Because that's going to affect both offenses. It's going to affect the running game. It's going to affect everything. So that's a game you have to check. You have to get up. You got to check the weather and see what's going on out there. Mariota's still a mystery. He was active last week, but they didn't play him. And that's the thing, like the only way they could possibly win this game is if Mariota plays. But I could see them not playing Mariota because they don't want him to get beat up by this Jacksonville defense at home. A defense that just beat up on Tom Brady. So, got to check that in the morning. This is a game that if you have any pieces of it, you have to closely monitor this shit. Now, back to gut feelings. I had that gut feeling about Isaiah, and I didn't follow it. I got a gut feeling here, folks. Now, just hear me out. Hear me out, okay? You're going to say I'm crazy. But I was watching that Titans game last week versus the Texans, okay? And they had all these plays these great plays drawn up for Derrick Henry. He had the ball directly snapped to him like 5 or 6 times. Like, I think they still believe in power running the way I still believe in power running, but they were up against a Texans front that was really fantastic. And that being the case, I think this week, even though Jacksonville is a better defense than even Houston, there's something about it. I have this weird feeling that this is one of those ones where a player defies the odds. They defies the rankings, and he just breaks a couple big ones free. Third time's the charm. I gotta tell you, I got a funny feeling about Derrick Henry. That being said, I'm not starting him in my starting lineup. I'm not starting him against Jacksonville. Hell, no fucking way. But I got a funny feeling. But I do love the Jags defense in this. And I love the Jags offense because I think the Titans defense is going to get tired because the Jags defense is going to knock the Titans off the field so often that ultimately I think the Titans defense gets tired and the Jags do great. I really don't. Ultimately, would I start any of the Titans? No. I did take a flyer on Derrick Henry in daily fantasy in the event that I'm right, but it was on a team where I also put Tom Brady, and Tom Brady to me is the play of the week. So, except for maybe Kirk Cousins. So, ultimately, on the Jags, I like Cole, I like Moncrief, depending on whether or not it rains. And if it rains, I don't know. I like Fournette for half a game. Again, if you have Fournette, you play your stars, you fire up Fournette, but I'm worried about him, rain or shine. Ultimately, I think Jacksonville wins this one very convincingly, 34-16. Lock it up. All right, let's move on. Let's keep enjoying this. This is so much fun. Thank you, Ty J, for Ben Lewis tuning in. Thank you, guys. If you have any lineup questions, you have any conundrums, throw them out there. We'll talk about them. Now let's move on to the Chargers at the Rams. Now, it'll be interesting to see how defensive this game is. Obviously, the Chargers are without Joey Bosa. And that makes a big difference. That definitely skews things in favor of the Rams. But that doesn't mean this isn't still a great Chargers defense. They're coming off a great, what do you call it? Like when they just hand you, like, here, get your confidence back. Fuck the Bills. You know what I mean? Like, they had a great get on the horse game last week against those Bills. This is going to be a much different game. I don't think the Chargers upset them. I am playing both the Chargers running backs because, again, I don't know which one's going to take off. Eckler is a star in his own right. It could wind up being more Eckler than Gordon because I feel like when Gordon's in the game, they're going to focus on Gordon. Eckler's going to get more breakaway opportunities. But because I can't tell which one's going to break it loose, I'm just playing them both. It's a total hedge bet. Someone's got to do it. Hopefully one of them does decently. But it's up against this incredible Rams defense. Maybe I'm crazy. If I lose this game, it will be because of this hedge bet. I do like the Rams more than the Chargers defense. I think you fire it. But I think even they, because he's got so many passing weapons, because he has Keenan Allen, because he has, Mike Williams, all these guys, both defenses are not going to give you what they gave you last week. That's for sure. But again, if you have the Rams defense, you fire up that Rams defense. You have no choice. I think they end the season number 1. Just like Jacksonville, or Minnesota, you got to play them. You do have just play your stars. You have to play your stars and hope for the best in terms of the way it goes on the Chargers side of the ball. Now on the Rams side of the ball, I do like Gordon. I like Allen. I like. On the other side of the ball, I do like Gordon. But I like Allen and I like Cooks. I like Keenan Allen. I like Brandon Cooks. You just play your stars. Play the stars. But I don't like Rivers in this one. Strangely, I don't know. I think he's going to throw a couple INTs. I think you could definitely count on Rivers for 2 interceptions in this game. So I'm not huge on him. Ultimately, though, I think it's a pretty good brawl. And I think the Rams win it 31-27. Moving on, let's talk about my Cowboys! Cowboys! I even have more Cowboys hats, just the ones I set up. Listen, the Cowboys are going to do great. The Cowboys are going to, I think they're going to show up. I think the defense right now is saving this team. They're definitely the ones that's keeping them in these games because there's no passing game. But ultimately, the Seahawks are in total fucking disarray with Maxwell. Like, just like, I don't want to play, guys. I don't know, you guys are. Is it Maxwell or what? Whoever it is, that defensive guy, the last member of the Legion of Boom that's still sitting around over there. I mean, they're just in such disarray, man. I don't think they pull their heads out for this one. I think the Cowboys, it's not going to be a glamorous win. It's not going to be a blowout. But ultimately, I love the Cowboys' defense in this one. I think they get 2-3. Earl Thomas, that's who it is. Earl Thomas, not Maxwell. Earl Thomas, that's the guy. Ultimately, I think the Cowboys' defense is a great daily fantasy play. I think you can play him in daily fantasy. And I love Zeke. I think Zeke has a great game against his incredibly diminished Seahawks defense. Ultimately, I think the Cowboys come away with a win, 24-19. And thank you, Brian Bentley, for that correction. I knew it wasn't Matt. I couldn't remember the guy's name. That's right. Earl Thomas is the guy that's having all those problems. He didn't even want to play for them. Then they wouldn't trade him. So now he's showing up, and he won't come to practice. And, these are the type of things that affect the overall mental game of the team. And I think the Seahawks mentally, I think they're just all over the place. I think this is not a great season for the Seahawks. I think this is the season where we see the Seahawks go back to being the Seahawks. Let's keep going. Bears at the Cards. Man, if there's another potential blowout, here it is. Primarily because of the Chicago D. You got that Chicago D, you fire him up. I love Jordan Howard this week. I think Jordan Howard eclipses 100 yards. I think he gives you 110. I think he has a fucking field day on this Cardinals team that is just a disaster right now. And I think the Chicago defense rules them, and that keeps the Cards defense on the field for too long. I think the second half, you see Jordan Howard just salting it away, piling up yards, getting 2 touchdowns. I love Jordan Howard. Joe-ho all day. I also have Allen Robinson. Talk about another value in daily fantasy. Allen Robinson is way down the list, and I think he has a great day this week. I think you absolutely go out and you fire up Allen Robinson. You know who else I like? I like Trey Burton. Trey Burton's been a little bit involved, but I think this is the week he gets super involved. I think they get time for him. I think he does some great things. I think Trey Burton is a guy that you fire him up. This is the week to fire up Trey Burton. I hate everybody on the Cardinals. It's so, and that's the thing. Every year, there's a top of the first rounder who is a complete bust. I remember a couple years ago, I had DeAndre Hopkins, picked him up 4th. And it was the year they played Matt Schaub, and he was the only quarterback that he could not connect with. And remember, he had connected with like 7 quarterbacks. That was the year DeAndre Hopkins was a bust. Every single season, there's one top-end guy that's a bust. Last year, it was David Johnson because he injured his wrist. This year, it's David Johnson again. But not because of his wrist, because the team fucking sucks. He's doing nothing. I'm afraid you have nothing to fear with this Cards team anymore because the coaching sucks. Whoever this new coach is, he fucking blows. Apparently his favorite thing is to suck big fat donkey dicks. So at the end of the day, I think the Bears beat them up pretty good. Chicago 35-12. That's what I'm predicting. I'm predicting all field goals for the Cardinals. If you need a kicker, I would go get that Cardinals kicker because that's all they're going to get. And you may also want to, Trubisky. This may be, if you're desperate for a guy, you got a bad matchup, this may be a great week to fire up Mitch Trubisky, a guy locked in preseason. All right, let's keep it moving. Patriots at the Lions. This, boy, talk about another blowout opportunity. Let's just look at this. People are like, oh, we talked about this on the Tuesday show. People were saying, but Patricia, he knows this Patriots team inside and out. They've clipped a lot of branches from the Belichick tree, and they rarely do that well. Belichick, however, has done quite well against his former assistants. His overall record, 14-8. That is a pretty good record against your former, almost twice as many wins as losses versus his former team. So look for that. So Belichick, I don't think the Patriots have anything to worry about up there. Again, the Cardinals, Detroit, there's another team in massive disarray. And here's the thing, and this is why I played Tom Brady. I went high for him. He's the number 1 rated quarterback in daily fantasy. I say you put the money down for Tom Brady because this week, Tom Brady is my favorite kind of Tom Brady. And it's angry Tom Brady. There is nothing like Tom Brady coming off a loss. And this is why, in my league, the guy who's number one, okay, in my league, the Jackassadorian, he's number one in our league right now. He's playing the Hooligans, which is Jay Hollingsworth, both two great comedians, by the way, look them up. So Jay Hollingsworth is, he's one of those super Patriots fans that his whole team is just riddled with fucking Patriots, but he's got Tom Brady, and this is the week. This is the week, baby. Angry Brady is going to put up 50 fantasy points for your team. I think the jackasses go down, and if I win my game, which I'm not counting on winning my game because of my running back situation going against the Rams, I'm really kind of afraid of it. But overall, I got an ace up my sleeve that has yet to be played, and we'll talk about that here in a minute. But I listen, fire up Dorsett, Gronk, Hogan, Josh Gordon. Play everybody on the Patriots. Play Sonny Michel. Don't play Burkhead, but definitely play White. Play James White, play Sonny Michel. I think everybody on the Patriots just fucking feasts, except for Burkhead. I think he's kind of on the outs because of the way it's working out with Michel and with James White. And I think Gronk feasts. I think he's good for 2 TDs. I hate everybody on the Lions with the exception of Galladay. Galladay seems to be a playmaker. I like Galladay, but only fire him up if you have to. I think it's another big blowout this week. Patriots win it 48-17. Lock it up. All right. Steelers versus the Bucs. Now, this is one of those games that, again, has the potential to be a high-scoring game. Now, here's the thing. Let's talk about this. Gordon or Marvin Jones? Wow. Unfortunately, I would have to say Marvin Jones, although I hate both of those options, but only because Gordon is going to see such limited playing time. Granted, I think it'll be like he was over in Cleveland, like he'll catch one pass for a touchdown, ultimately at the end of the day. Marvin Jones, you might catch, but Marvin Jones has been getting squeezed out by Kenny Galladay. I think if you can, avoid both of those guys. I would just see if there's somebody else out there. I don't know who you can get, but Gordon or Marvin Jones, brutal choices for this week. God bless you. Godspeed. God go with you. Good luck. I don't like either of those choices. But Steelers versus the Bucs. Here's the thing. Let's talk about this 1 second. Let me catch my breath. Let's slow it down. Orlando, welcome to the show. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you to those. Matt Jones joining us. Tom Sims, you punk. How are you, brother? I still love you, Tom Sims. Lockett is your only other choice. You know what? I'd play Lockett. I'm not even joking. I would go ahead and play Lockett over both those guys this week. But that's just me. That's my choice. You make your choices. But for me, I would go Lockett. I don't like the other guys at all. Okay, so talk about Steelers versus the Bucs. Okay, it reminds me of that song American Pie. The day the music died, because it's going to die in Tampa Bay. I'm sorry, folks. Fitzmagic is over. You know why? You know why Fitzmagic is going to eat a dick this week? I'll tell you why. Because he's been so electric, which is what he does in a temporary role. But he's been so electric that there's talk. There's rumors, there's talk, there's buzz about him continuing to start next week when Jameis Winston comes off of his suspension. And that, my friends, is when Fitzmagic flies right out of the room. The second you make him the starter, that's when he's like, oh, I'm sorry, allow me to eat this giant cock right in front of you. And that is what is coming, my friends, because he doesn't want to be the starter. It's been too good. He's been too good. He floats right back down to earth. If you play Fitzpatrick this week, you are going to be sorely disappointed. You're chasing the points. He's going to suck a dick, and the Buccaneers are not going to be, they're going to have a game, but the Steelers, this is, I think, where the Steelers kind of click back in. Antonio Brown, I think, comes roaring back, and that's the ace up my sleeve, because I've won my last 2 games without Antonio Brown doing that great, with everybody else stepping up. Stephon Diggs, everybody else has been, Tyreek Hill rather. Everybody else has been stepping up on that team for him, and I think this is the week that he pays everybody back. and saves my week. It'll be down to the wire for me, and I think Antonio Brown balls out for me and shows up and his owners. And that's why I think the Steelers ultimately end up winning this one pretty good. 38-16 is what I'm predicting. Now, obviously, you got to play Mike Evans. Mike Evans is a stud. He gets a touchdown. He still gets 78 yards. He still gets 6 receptions. But that's about it. I mean, there's nobody else that I like. And Peyton Barber, where the hell are you? Show the fuck up. Play some fucking football, you cocksucker. You look so good in preseason, and now you suck dicks. So, but I think it turns out to be a big night for Antonio Brown. I don't think Jesse James has a repeat performance of last week. If you're playing Jesse James, you're chasing points. But again, I think the Steelers do have a pretty big day against these Buccaneers. I think they beat them up pretty good, 38-16. I know that's what I hope will be happening because I know I'm going to need Antonio Brown to show up and be Antonio Brown. Give me 35 points, buddy. Drop it in the bucket. Carry me to victory, you champ. All right. Listen, you guys, follow me on Twitter at @TheGregWilson. Follow me on everything else at Greg Romero Wilson. Daily Fantasy, James Washington. A lot of people are high on James Washington. I think you're throwing your money away. I don't see it just yet, especially with Juju Smith there. And I don't think they're going to have a problem getting it to Antonio Brown this week. If you play James Washington at Daily Fantasy, I think you're going to be sorely disappointed. I know he's become a bit of a buzzword, but that's only because Antonio Brown has been down. I don't think James Washington is anything you're going to be able to, yes. So let's go with the flex spot question from Brian Bentley. Yes, any final question? Let's debate it. Let's get it out there. What do you got? What are you thinking, Brian Bentley? So be sure and follow me on all the social medias. He's saying Kittle, Graham, or Marvin. Pick one. I'm going Jimmy Graham. Even though I know Washington is actually traditionally very tough against tight ends. They, I think, are ranked somewhere around 24th, 25th. But here's the thing. George Kittle is going to get receptions, but I think Graham is going to have a great day. They're in Green Bay. I think this is going to be I think they're in Green Bay. Let's take a look. Oh, no, they're in Washington. Even still, I think I'd go with Graham. Graham would be my shot. Kittle is your safest bet. Don't touch Marvin. Fitzpatrick or Lockett. Again, I'm going to go Lockett because the entire Arizona Cardinals team is just in disarray. Fitzpatrick's numbers have been garbage over the last few weeks. I see no reason why they're going to uptick this week. So against Chicago's defense, they're going to be all up in whoever they have quarter. I mean, if it's Sam Bradford, you're in trouble. And if it's Josh Allen, you're in even bigger trouble. So definitely not definitely not Larry Fitzpatrick. Yes, I'm talking about Fitzpatrick, the Cardinals receiver. I don't like them at all this week against that Chicago's defense. Again, I think Tyler Lockett is your safer play because he's the number one receiver. They're going to have to throw to somebody, and Dallas's secondary isn't that great. It's its pass rush that's been really pulling their weight. So I don't like it. Long-term thirds are Cole in Jacksonville. Right now, I like Keelan Cole. I think I'm playing him in my league over Devin Funchess, but that's a matchup thing because the Tennessee Titans have given up the second most points to receivers, whereas the other Devin Funchess, Carolina, they're up against somebody else they're up against Cincinnati, and the Cincinnati defense, they're like 26th. So giving up the 26th fewest. So I like the matchup better. But again, this week I think will be very telling in terms of who Keelan Cole really is to this Jacksonville offense. But if he is who I think he is, I think he has a very good game against the Tennessee Titans. You know, I don't think he has any other competition right now. There's nobody else to compete with him, so I like him. You may listen, Scott Berman, fire up Larry Fitzgerald if you want to. I'm dying to hear how that works out for you next week. That'll be fantastic. Again, I think the Cards get really dominated by that Chicago defense. So Washington and Carolina are on bye next week? Okay, great. That really doesn't mean anything for this weekend. Thank you, Scott Berman, for that. All right, guys, listen. That does it for this week. What a week. I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited. I'm actually going to miss a ton of games because I am actually going to a game tomorrow. I will be going to watch the Rams play the Chargers. And the funny thing is, on the Rams side, I have the Rams defense. And on the Chargers side, I have Gordon and Eckler. So really, like half the time, I'm going to be fully involved in what's going on, and the other half of the time, I'll be getting a hot dog or getting drunk, one or the other, probably both. Thank you, Brian Bentley. Thank you, everybody that watches on Facebook Live. I enjoy talking with you guys and hanging out. We get to do this. This is super fun. And for everybody that listens to the podcast, thank you so much. It's on SoundCloud, Fantasy Football, Harsh Reality. I'm Greg Romero Wilson. I'll be at the Ha Ha Cafe tonight at 10:45 for the Late Show, the Down and Dirty. Join me there. And you guys, if you want to learn the craft of comedy, check out my website. This week we're doing crowd work and riffing. And also we're launching into our 5-week program, but that one is sold out. Thank you guys very much for listening. Fantasy Football, Harsh Reality. You guys take care. We will see you on Monday and or Tuesday.